How should I record a remote interview for my podcast? Hey there, I'm Jen Eads, the head broad in charge at the Brassy Broadcasting Company. This is a question that I am asked all the time. My answer is the best way to record your podcast is to use the method that works best for you and your guests. In this video, I'm joined by my friend Jackie MacDougall from the 40 Thrive podcast, so we could test some popular platforms for remote recording. There are pros and cons for each one of these platforms, and the prices range from free to having varied monthly costs. In this video, we are sharing recordings made using Cleanfeed, Streamyard, Zoom, Squadcast, and a double ender so that you can hear the difference in the audio quality. We're also going to share some of the pros and cons that we experienced while using each one of these. I'll have links to each platform in the video description. Leave a comment below and let me know what you're using to record your remote interviews. Which one's your favorite? What challenges have you had in recording your interviews? Leave your answer in the comments below. And we're going to jump right into this using Cleanfeed.
Hi, Jen.
Hey, Jackie. How are you?
Good. So I'm excited that we are here testing Cleanfeed.
Yeah, this is brand new for both of us.
Yeah, I've never used it before, so we're newbies. And you sent me a link to join you, and I clicked on it, and here we are. It's that easy.
And I'm just using the free version. So there are more bells and whistles on the paid version, but I think for me as an editor, the biggest thing between the free version and the paid version is that on the free version, you get everything on one track. On the pro version, you get multiple tracks, so a track for each speaker, which is great when editing. But I think for just testing this out and seeing how it goes, so far, so good.
Yeah. So let's go through our little list that we have.
Okay.
So number one, ease for guest. And like I said, it was easy for me to come in. I'm your guest. I chose my mic in the drop-down menu to make sure it was using my microphone and not my computer mic. And it was easy breezy on my end.
Yeah. And then from the host standpoint, the only thing, and this might be another thing that's different in the paid version versus the free version, is that I couldn't send you a link and schedule it out in advance. So I had to log in and then I emailed you the invite to connect to the recording. But still, that was not that big of a deal. So I'd say from an ease for host, so far, so good.
Yeah. So you did have to go over to your system preferences.
Yeah. So the one little hitch that I had was I could see that it was picking up my microphone, and I'm using the Samsung Q2U. And so I've got my headphones plugged into the bottom of my microphone for monitoring. And initially, when you would speak, it was coming out of my internal or my built-in computer speaker. But I went into the system preferences on my Mac, just switched it over so that it was coming through the Samsung, and then it was fine. So relatively easy fix.
Okay, that's really interesting because I know that you can plug into the microphone, but when I am doing remote recording, I never plug into the microphone because I didn't think you could hear the other person as they're coming through the computer and not the mic.
Yeah, you just tell it to output through your microphone instead of your computer speakers.
Well, look at that. I'm learning something new.
We're fancy up in here.
We are fancy. So the one thing I will say is that free version, it can be for a guest a little bit nerve-wracking if you aren't able to send the link in advance. I know some of my guests are like, what's the, give me the information. And so as long as you communicate clearly to your guest, if you're using the free version, you will send the link, a couple minutes before, then it should be okay.
And the other caveat with Cleanfeed is that your guest needs to be using the Chrome browser. So it doesn't work yet with Firefox or Safari.
That's interesting because, I don't know how many people. I use Chrome just by default, but I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who don't. So that's something definitely is important to know. And then let's talk about the cost for a minute. So we, like you said, are on the free version. But if you were to upgrade to have multiple tracks, how much is that going to run you?
It looks like they've got a $22 version and a $34 version. So in the Pro version, you're going to get the multi-track recording, the advanced invitations. It looks like they've got some audio repair and echo cancel, channel mix control, volume control, higher bit rates, and multiple input devices. So I'm not sure what that means, but I would think it would mean the ability to connect two microphones as opposed to one. So maybe if you and a co-host are connecting with somebody, across the country. So it would allow you and your co-host to each be on your own microphone.
In the same room?
In the same room.
So if you are someone who does video podcasting as well, or you like to promote the episode using the video from your remote call, Cleanfeed does not have a video option. That's a pro or a con, depending on
exactly
who you are.
Right.
But I will say it was easy, and it's easy to talk to you, and it sounds like you're in the same room with me. All right, let's move to the next one. Hi, Jen.
Hey, Jackie. How are you?
You sound so good. We're on Streamyard.
Yeah, I like this. So we're not actually streaming anywhere right now, though, right?
That's
This is
the
just
beauty.
for fun.
So this platform would be really great for somebody who does live videos, who needs something third-party software to do really great Facebook live videos, because they have awesome banners and it looks good and you can bring multiple people on and it's super user-friendly. And we're trying it for podcasting. So that way you don't have to, nobody needs to buy 5,000 different, software and all that stuff. So we're trying it out to see what happens.
Yeah, so far so good. From my end, as the guest that got the invite to join, super easy. Clicked a button and here we are.
Yes. And I used the free version of StreamYard for, I'd say, a month before I jumped in and paid for it. You can't download your file, I don't think, with the free version, but you can when you have the paid version. And it's like $20 a month.
Oh, nice. Does it record the audio on separate tracks for you and your guest?
That is the challenge.
Okay.
It does not record separate tracks. It does allow you to download the audio or the video, but the audio is not in separate tracks.
Okay. Good to know.
Pros and cons to everything, right?
Isn't there? Yeah, always.
So let's go through our list. So you said the ease for the guest was awesome.
Yeah, piece of cake.
The ease for me, the host, super easy. That's why I've been using it lately.
Good.
The quality of sound, we will see. But right now, hearing you, there are no hiccups.
No, none.
You sound like and look like you're right next door.
Yeah, this is nice. Even though I'm in Indiana and you're in California.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it feels, sometimes you're on remote recording and you kind of feel far away and there's a delay, or there's lots of things that can happen. And so this feels very natural.
I think so. Yeah.
The cost is pretty reasonable. At $20. And well, like I said, we'll see the quality of sound.
Okay.
Yeah. And you could go live. So here's another, this is a very important thing for a podcaster who, like, for example, my show 40 Thrive, I may want to interview someone live in the group.
Oh, yeah.
And then repurpose it as a podcast. And so I actually did that on one of my episodes recently, and interviewed her through StreamYard, and then I downloaded it as a podcast episode.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we'll have to check our audio.
Oh, perfect. All right. We will do that. Anything else on our list of things to check for comparing these?
No, I think the ease for the guest and the host, the quality of sound, and the cost are really our biggest. And the bonus is the fact that you can do not only just video, but live video.
Yeah. Yeah,
And it
definitely.
Looks good, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'll be curious to see the playback on this. But so
and then
far,
look,
so
I could
good.
change.
Look at that.
And I could do some branding in the back if I want.
Okay.
Overlay background. Let's see. Oh, I can upload a background.
Okay.
So if I had some branding background there, I could do that. If we had,
Fun.
I could do myself bigger or, yours, like, so, and you could have multiple guests.
Okay.
And
How many
so
guests can you have at the same time? Do you know?
you can have 6 people in the stream and
Okay.
10 people in the studio or green room. So
Okay.
if you have a show and you have 10 people waiting, you can
Mhm.
bring 5 and additional people with you on at a time.
Okay. Good to know.
It's really helpful. And if this is something you pay for already, it could actually
Mhm.
probably take the place of like a Zoom call.
Oh, I would think so. Definitely.
So I will see you at Zoom.
Hi, Jen. Hi again.
Hey, Jackie, how are you?
So we are now meeting on Zoom, which by now almost everyone is familiar with.
I think so. Courtesy of the COVID, Corona, whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. And so sometimes it's great to use this, not necessarily because it's the top of the line when it comes to technology, but because of the ease of use and the recognition of the platform for your guests.
Right. Because I feel like there are so many people that now if you say, hey, let's do it on Zoom, they're like, oh, yeah, now everybody seems to know what that is.
Right. And it's really important if you are doing an interview for your guests not to feel intimidated before they even show up.
Right. And one of the things that I really love about Zoom, because occasionally you'll get somebody that either like has no confidence with computers and connecting things. They're like, can I just talk on my phone? And with Zoom, you can absolutely do that. They can dial in if that is what they need for their comfort level and for you to actually get the interview, then it's an option. Where with some of the other recording platforms, it's not.
Right. And you can also do, I don't think there's a limit to the number of people that you can have on the call.
I haven't come up against a limit yet. One thing, though, that I do want to share that I learned this week, I was recording a podcast that had 3 or 4 different guests on it. And so when the other guests weren't speaking, they were on mute. And it makes it really challenging. So it's great to have everybody on separate tracks, but because they're muting, not all of the tracks then line up exactly. And some are shorter, some are longer, depending on how much they were talking and how long they were muting. So it takes a little bit of extra work and listening to kind of make sure you get the conversation lined up in post-production.
Oh, that's good information, because I think we would never think about that. Oh, if someone mutes themselves, it's going to throw everything off.
Right. And typically, if it's just you and me, no big deal. We're not going to be muted.
Right.
But when you get 3 or 4 other people on, and I think, we're kind of in that habit now, or at least a lot of people I know, of muting because there's kids, there's dogs, there's everything else in the background these days.
Right, right. And so when you mention separate tracks, that's a good thing, because not all of these options have the option of separate tracks. Right. One thing I have noticed, though, even though you're on separate tracks, if you and I speak at the same time, Zoom often will drop one of us out. And so even though you're able to edit, it still affects the quality a little bit.
Right. And one thing to make sure that you're doing, if you want to record to separate tracks, make sure that you are recording locally to your computer and not to the cloud. Because if you're recording to the cloud, it just smushes everything on one track.
That's a great tip. And if you're using the video, you could actually use this video and put it directly onto YouTube or Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
You can use Zoom for Facebook Live. However, it's an additional charge. It's like you have to get the webinar version, which is like $40 a month, in addition to your $15 if you already pay. And so I pay $15 a month for Zoom. But if your podcast is short and you need 40 minutes or less, you could just stay with the free version.
Right, exactly.
And if you do use the video, it has a little button that airbrushes you.
You know all the good tricks.
I do. So you feel a little bit less tired, or you look a little less tired.
Oh, yeah. Well, the other thing, too, for sake of audio quality, is we can talk about doing a double ender.
Yes.
Which is where, because Zoom is really easy, but the audio quality is never going to be pristine. But one of the ways to make it sound better is I can actually open up QuickTime on my computer and I can record my microphone directly into QuickTime, and I'm going to get a much better sounding recording than I am from the Zoom call. So it's great to have Zoom opened up to communicate, but for the actual recording, I'm going to use the QuickTime recording because it's going to sound better. And then Jackie is recording on her end, and then she's just going to send me the file of her recording, and then I'll put them together and we'll sound like we're in the same room.
That's perfect because you don't require any more equipment. You have the one microphone. It's on the same computer. We use Zoom for the communication, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
We sound much better.
Yes.
And in the end, you have the backup on Zoom in case anything happens. I love to have backups.
Yes. Me too. It helps a lot.
Yes. Especially when people like me forget recording.
I will never tell your secrets, Jackie.
We'll cut that out. So let's just go through our list a little bit for Zoom
Yes.
and for the double ender.
Yes.
The ease for the guest on Zoom.
Super easy.
Easy. Phone,
Yes.
browser, or the app. You have 3 different ways that you can join. So that makes it easy. The quality of sound is okay.
Yeah. It's so
okay.
listenable. And I think people are so used to the quality of it now, having done so many meetings on it. I think listeners will probably be a little bit more forgiving if at the beginning of your podcast, you're like, oh, hey, we recorded this on Zoom. They're like, oh, okay.
Right. And then the ease for host. I mean, if you're already hosting meetings and happy hours and all of those things on Zoom,
Right.
you already know how to use it. There's just a couple buttons that you want to make sure, the separate tracks and things like that and your preferences. But other than that, you know how to use it. And then
Right.
the bonus that you have the video to
Exactly.
be used for later.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I think Zoom gets a big thumbs up for me for recording for all of those reasons.
Yeah, it's good. So let's head over to Squadcast.
All right, I'll meet you there. Hey, here we are in Squadcast.
Fancy meeting you here.
Right. Well, it took a little effort, I have to say. On your end, it sounds like it was relatively simple.
It was relatively simple. I did sign up with a new email address to try the 7-day trial. It does require a credit card.
Yes.
So that's, take that for what it is. And, set an alarm or put it in your calendar or whatever if you're not into it to make sure you cancel in
Right.
time before you're charged. And so you do have to choose which plan you want to be on with the 7-day
So
trial.
I sent you an invite to the recording yesterday. Was that pretty simple from your end? Just click a link? Was there anything that you had to download or any other extra steps you had to take?
No, that was really easy. I clicked the link and it brought me to a window where it really walks you through. So if you're not a podcaster and you're having a guest on, it tells you that you should be wearing headphones, which is nice to have someone else back me up. And it will show you which microphone it's using. And so if for some reason it didn't choose my Samsung Q2U, I could make sure that was chosen and that my headphones were correct. And then I went entered your green room or your area, your recording area.
Okay.
So that was easy.
Okay, good. From the host side, I had some challenges, which I was a little surprised about. I had a hard time. I had to go back into my settings, and I'm on a Mac, so I had to go into preferences and do some wrangling around there to allow it to access my microphone and my camera. So I would say if you're using this before you start, just do a little test run to make sure that everything is going to record.
Right. Yeah, that's good to know because if you have somebody waiting for you,
right,
they're in the recording area by themselves,
right, and they're
waiting.
like, "Hey, what's going on? Do I have the right time?" It can be a little confusing.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I finally got that guest, and now they're gone.
And I think that really kind of holds true with anything, like whether it's Zoom or whatever it is. Make sure you've tested it out before you use it the first time. And I always try to log in a little bit early just to double check everything and make sure the microphone's working and all that stuff.
Right. And so now with Squadcast, you don't have the option of going live anywhere or anything like that, like you would with that upgraded Zoom as well as Streamyard. But you can use the video, I believe. Well, we'll find out after if you can download the video and then be able to use that on your YouTube channel or for promotional purposes.
Exactly. And I'm wondering too, if I click this little camera button, if I'll go away. I do. Then I go away and it's just a background. And so we can do audio only. And then,
Oh, that's good.
yeah, good to know.
Yeah. And so we'll have to put in the comments what happens after we record.
Right. So the other thing that's really nice, up at the top, there's these little 3 buttons. So of course I had to hit that and see what happened.
Yes.
And it tells me that it's using my Samsung microphone and that's where it's feeding the sound into my headphones. It also is looking at my network connection. And I just went from very good to good. So at least I know that my connection's pretty strong too.
Right. And it's interesting because when I clicked on that, I saw bad, then average, and now good.
Okay, good.
That was interesting. And, the date and time if you need that.
Right. Yeah, there you go. It's got it all.
Well, that's good to know. So let's talk about the cost. So the cool thing about Squadcast, they do have a $9 a month option, but, you should know that it's 2 hours of audio recordings per month. So if you do a podcast that's on the shorter side, that might be plenty for you. The creator, which is the most popular, as they say, is $17 a month. And that's 5 hours. 5 hours, yeah. And then, of course, you can go with the pro, which is 12 hours a month.
That's a lot of recording. That makes my ears hurt just thinking about it.
I feel like we've done 12 hours just testing these things
No
out.
kidding.
I'm just kidding. So ease for guest, good. Ease for host, could use some work.
Yeah. Yeah. At least the first time through. And it should be fine the second time.
Cost, is fine. And it's pretty much on average. The $17, is probably what most people would need.
Right.
And then the quality of sound is you'll have to listen and see. And we're gonna, in the description, we'll write all of our extra thoughts that we come up with after we've recorded, because then we get to actually hear it and compare it.
Thanks for watching. Check out my podcast tutorial playlist for more videos on how to take your podcast from launch to legendary. And download your ultimate guide to my favorite podcasting tools and resources at Brassybroad.com.